sorry if the noise is a bit wonky. I pace because I'm stressed out by all of this. I just want to like clarify a few things because I've been watching along. Because really don't want to be involved in any of this for pretty obvious reasons, but I do want to clarify that Jeremy's never threatened like my personal life from the perspective of exposing things about my boyfriend or anything like that. That's just an ongoing concern that I have because he's a very private person and I don't want anybody to, think he's fair game because he's just not. And that
Right.
kind of goes for the things that I know about Jeremy too. There's no world, and the people in my DMs asking me, I'm never going to say anything because I said this in my video about Elijah Schaefer, where I made the point that a lot of this is mutually assured destruction. And there's nothing really in my life, like I'm boring. There's nothing really in my life that I want to hide or anything like that. But I will never go after somebody's personal life like that. So I just want to clarify that. I
Good.
think
Okay.
that's really important.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's how it should be. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You should always kind of leave that off the table. And, that's why I think people are calling Jeremy a hypocrite, because Jeremy seems to be going around and doing that kind of thing behind alts, or when he gets kind of, messed up like at night on a
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday and whatnot, which you have a lot of experience with.
Yeah, I
So
do.
yeah.
I mean, and,
So
and like my motivation here is, and I think people sort of misunderstand, they think that it's a pile-on. And for me, I think having to deal with two of the same kind of man back to back was pretty awful. And granted, I put myself in that situation. I didn't correctly read the room. But when I extricate myself, I just want to be left alone. I like making my content and being in my weird little bubble with my community. And that's kind of just where I want to be. I don't
right.
want to be involved in the ongoing drama. The other thing I just want to clarify too is I don't know if Jeremy's product is drop shipped. I can't speak to that. What I meant is that I do all my own packing. He doesn't. He doesn't obviously like touch the product going into the bags or anything like that. He has employees who do that. Whether or not they work directly under him, I also don't know. So I can't comment on that. I'm not going to because I just don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's what the chat is like. They're like, "Oh, it's drop ship. Oh God, Jesus." Everybody's
I
been
just
waiting.
I don't want to give anybody any ammo saying that I lied or I said something that could be misconstrued in any way. So I just want to clarify a couple of things. And the last thing is, yes, I did record conversations. It's obviously so taboo in our industry to do that. Again, these are not things I'm going to be putting on the internet. They were for me to listen back to because he made me feel crazy.
Right.
So it was just a thing where I was like, oh, this guy's saying one thing, on an 11 o'clock call at night when he's drunk off of his head. And then I'd be like, wait a minute, you said all this stuff yesterday, last night. And then the next day he'd phone and be like, I never said that. And so I just felt like I was losing my mind.
So, like, what kind of stuff would he say? Would just like business stuff, or?
Yeah, so with the business, he would call me and he'd be like, you got to buy me out and you owe me all this money. And at the time, I was in the middle of a lawsuit, so I hadn't I hadn't really been working a ton because also I was working for free on the Publica and trying to get that up and running. And obviously, the way that that business played out wasn't awesome. And there's definitely some culpability on my end with how things went. But he would call me and badger me about it. And then the next day, I'd be like, okay, well, you said all this stuff yesterday. Um, I don't have $100,000 to buy you out or whatever arbitrary number he's pulling out of his butt. But then he would say, oh, I never said that. And I really want to do this with you. And it was very confusing. And I always felt like I was being gaslit.
Yeah, and that's what he does now. He'll have a crash out on Twitter, and then just delete everything. And I guess that's what my theory is. He just doesn't remember the next day. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very
I mean, there was just a lot of weirdness that went on. And the thing was that I went from working with an alcoholic who was always drunk to working with another alcoholic. And I was just like, hey, I get it. Everybody struggles with these things or has a thing that maybe doesn't work for them. But if you want to work with me, this has to stop. Because I have a weird history around alcohol. It stresses me out. I don't drink. Um, and just, having to deal with somebody who was calling me absolutely off his head always made me really uncomfortable. And I was like, dude, get it together. Especially with him like tweeting at people, I'd be behind the scenes like, hey man, I think you should lay off. And the worst part was people have always treated me like his keeper. They DM me behind the scenes and say, hey, can you, get him to stop doing this and that? And I'd be like, this is a freaking 40-year-old man, guys. Like
Yeah.
I'm not his keeper.
Yeah.
So yeah. Don't drink and tweet, kids.
So his drinking deal, this it's been a while since you've been separated from this whole deal, right?
Yeah, like
So he's
18
been
months.
drinking.
And that's why I don't understand when the Publica ended. And again, things got ugly. It wasn't good. I freely admit that. Maybe one day I'll talk about it. But yeah, things were not great. And then he, after that, just started talking insane amounts of shit about me. And a lot of it was so untrue. Like when you told me the $250,000 thing, that's what sent me into orbit. Because
Well,
I
that's
was
what he's
like, that's
repeating.
insane.
That's what he's repeating. Yeah, Jeremy has like I told you the message. Jeremy has this thing where he'll just like brag to the public about how much money he gives to people just out of the goodness of his heart, and then they just betray him. They betray
Yeah.
him.
So let me clarify on that. The only time Jeremy ever paid me was when we were doing streams together, and he would give me half of whatever super chat money was left after YouTube took its cut. That's the only time. And when the Publica was happening, there was actually one payment that he owed, quote unquote owed me, and I said, "Hey, you keep it. You just roll that back into the business." That's the
Right.
only time he's ever paid me. I never made any money from that enterprise, but that's okay, right? Because when you're growing a business, typically you're the last person to get paid.
Right.
But to
Exactly.
make it sound like I made out like a bandit is insane. I didn't know that, and that is staggering to me.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think he has said this multiple times. Like he keeps saying it. He keeps saying it. He does this with a lot of women for specifically. Like there's Trillium Girl in that June documentary. He gave her like $1,000 and all this streaming equipment. I don't know the details, but he apparently gave her all this stuff. And like, is that common? Is that something he does with like a lot of people, specifically women? He just like offers to give them money and help them and finance their stuff. Like, is that a thing?
I can't really speak to other people's experiences. I'm not sure. Um, at the front end, I think that he definitely wants to be a nice guy. He wants to be your friend. He wants to be helpful. And, to his credit, he gave me a ton of great YouTube advice and he would help me with titles and thumbnails and all sorts of stuff at the front end. But I think that over time it gets really sour. And that's kind of what happened between us. The tea thing obviously was a really big turning point for me. And I know it's all a bit boring to explain to people, but um, when you have somebody who's supposed to be doing you a favor, and I know what people are going to say, Sydney, you dumbass, why would you ever have a handshake agreement? And fair enough, lesson learned. But, when you're working with people, you expect that they're going to continue to be good to you and nice to you. But it just quickly devolved, I guess, for me. So I don't know if other women have experienced, or I don't know what other women have gone through, but just definitely in my case, yeah, it was like you had this person who was trying to help. He never was like, oh, let me give you a bunch of money, but he was like, let me help you. Well, because I was at my lowest when he and I started working together.
Right.
Yeah, because
So
my other show had just fallen apart.
right. And then you decided. So like, was it after the tea or the public thing? Like, what was the catalyst for you like separating your show from Jeremy? Because it just ended, right? So like, what was the catalyst?
Yeah, so honestly, this has been so long. I feel like it's been so long that timeline wise, I might stuff some stuff up here so everybody can double check me on when things ended and started and whatnot. But basically, we were doing a fun little stream together called Community Notes. And I think because it wasn't generating as much money as he liked, he was like, hey, let's not do this. It's kind of taking away from other things, which was fine with me because I was trying to grow my channel back and kind of recover from all the things that had happened to me. I was in the middle of a lawsuit. Like I was stressed out. So that
Mm.
was fine. And then I think it was after that that he wanted to do the Publica, which again, I think was a really great, noble idea. But to have a business like that, you really need a lot of infrastructure. You need a lot of money behind it, a lot of people. And obviously we just didn't have that. And I totally take responsibility for, part of that going completely wrong. So yeah, we went from community notes to the Publica, and around this time was when the tea thing happened, and that's when I was like, wow, you suck.
Yeah. That was like that changed your impression of him, I guess.
Yeah, completely. Because at that point I was used to the drunk calls. And I was used to, some of the other weirdness. But at that point, I didn't fully dislike him. I just thought, okay, this is a person who's, struggling and he's got some stuff that he's dealing with. Fair enough. We all have that. And then yeah, when he fucked my business, I was like, yo, this feels kind of personal and deliberate and shitty. And just being told, oh, structure your business better really upset me because, as you kind of probably got when I was DMing you, I love my company. Like I put so much of my time into it. So yeah, that was really upsetting. That kind of changed my perspective of him.
Oh yeah, as it would, and that's why I asked you a question in DMs as far as the weird stuff. Like when you saw, because you would have everybody saw it when you saw that Ren Fair clip. Like, what was your impression of it?
I just thought, why would you behave like that in public?
Yeah, simple, right? Like, what do you
I
do?
think, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this, especially as a woman commenting, people chalk all this stuff up to feminism, and they'll say things like, "Oh, women shouldn't have this perspective," and "Oh, you're being too sensitive." But in reality, I think that one of the primary functions of a man is to protect women and to make sure that women are not being creeped on. And if you're the man doing the creeping, there's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, and he quote tweeted that at me. And I don't know how he didn't have me blocked. He actually blocked me like 2 days ago before he deleted X, which is very shocking. I lasted that long. But when he quote tweeted at me, he said it was just normal banter, normal behavior, and I was blown away because I've never in my life wanted to follow people and film them, and you know,
No, that's odd
yeah,
behavior. That's bizarre behavior.
yeah, and like
That's
that's why I asked you, like, that is when you were around him personally. I mean, does he act in a way like, especially when he's drinking, like because you went to probably like some or meetups or whatever, like conventions together and did some events together? Like, was there ever any air of this, like him being weird as hell in public or anything like that?
No, not to my knowledge. The only incident that really stands out to me, you got to remember, it's been a couple of years now,
Mm,
but the only incident that really stood out to me was the one where we go into a bar, a big group of us. I was
right,
chatting to a bloke that I ended up dating. He
right.
and I just met that night. And yeah, on the way home, Jeremy was telling me that he's going to beat this guy up and he's going to fight him. And I was like, what's giving you this indication that you're going to fight another man to, I guess, for me, like not for me as on behalf of me, but for me as in to conquer, to take the woman back to cave. Like that was the vibe. And I was like, dude, I don't know what's given you the indication that this is acceptable behavior, because at that point, he'd been cool. Like, he'd been someone who I was talking to about other relationships. We'd sort of talked about bits and bobs to do with our personal lives and things. And I was like, oh, this is like a friend. This is a friend, not someone who's interested in me. And that was when I was like, oh, Christ, no, sir, no.
Yeah, that
And I was
goes
like,
back to the manipulation. Like he said earlier in his career, he was really, really good at like kind of like worming in and manipulating and kind of pulling at people's heartstrings. So that would make sense getting into those like conversations about personal stuff and how he's going to help and stuff like that to find his way in. That's my impression.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the motivation was or whatever, but this is also before all of the super awful crap went down. So, like, as in with my show ending and what have you. So, I don't know. Perhaps I'm naive, and I hate to admit that, but I think in some ways I'm a bit of a dum dum when it comes to these interactions, because I go into it thinking, oh, we're cool, we're fine, we're mates. There's nothing else to this, and then I learn that I have misread the situation or misread the room, and I'm like, oh crap, and then have to navigate it. That was definitely a really, really weird situation. And I just was like, I mean, okay. And I mean, when I dropped him off at his hotel, I was just like, get out of my car, please, get out. This is so weird. And I was so uncomfortable. And then, yeah, that bloke and I went on to date for a little bit. And then I met my now boyfriend. So, yeah.
Right. And then after that, now is this before? I mean, well, this you said this was probably the first instance. So like he would like drunk call you and say like kind of weird, strange shit or text you weird shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the drunk calling was really from day one. And again, like, I'm not gonna come down like a ton of bricks on this dude, because so many people have problems with alcohol, and
Yeah.
I think that being being fair to just humans, if someone's dealing with something and they're not ready to deal with it properly, yeah, substances play a huge role. I don't like working with people who have substance problems because they almost inevitably they inevitably cause problems for you and for everybody around you. And so I knew when we started working together, you gotta remember, so I met this dude maybe in 2020 or maybe 2021, I'm not sure. So we met and then we were cool. He hit on me. It was whatever. I was like, all right, I'm gonna let it go because you were trashed. So let me let that go and I won't hold it against you. You know, we've all done stupid shit when we've been drunk. And then when my show ended, so that was 2022, beginning of 2022, that's when he came along and was like, hey, let's work together. And because I'd seen how he is when he's drunk, and he's drunk a lot, I was like, hey man, you know, if we're going to do this, I really need you to sober up. And I really like, I really wanted things to work out because that was like my absolute lowest as a person when my show ended. I felt like a massive failure.
Yeah.
And I thought that I just was so sad, you know, like I just was so sad. And so I thought, great, you know, this is another opportunity to do something that's going to be fun and a lot less pressure and hopefully just a better environment for me. And then it was just more of the same shit on a long enough timeline. And I hate that because I don't want to be an person who leaves this like string of drama and bodies behind me. I want to be the unproblematic queen. That's what I want. And
Yeah.
I can't have it because of my stupid decisions. So,
Jeremy.
yeah.
I don't know if you can divulge it, but Yellow Flashes, my boys in the chat. Do you like? Okay, you've probably seen the crazy shit, and it's a meme, right? It's a meme that's likely true. But do you know anything about this weird situation in his personal life with this bull guy?
I don't, and I think, like I said, this to me is the sort of territory I don't want to get into
Okay.
because
All right.
as much as I don't like Jeremy and I think he's a butthole, and I know he's gonna like, I'm gonna just say this ahead of time, he is going to lose his shit about me saying any of this. And like as soon as you started this stream and I was tuning in, I was like, oh, I'm fucked. Like I'm fucked. And
You'll
so
be all
I
right.
know.
You'll
I
be
know. And it's probably going to be more of the like spurging out and the lying and, you know, I know he's got DMs that someone else sent him, private DMs of mine that I had with a former friend that she sent him to get at me. And I know that he's going to probably post them, and it is what it is. And I don't mind explaining if that happens. And I don't mind owning crappy. That's my dog. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
She's singing you all the song of her people. Yeah, I don't mind explaining things because, like, you know, I'm not infallible. I've done dumb crap that I'm not proud of. But, you know, when you read private DMs without context and things, you know, people then make their own decisions about what happened. So I don't mind. Like, I'm not trying to hide anything. But as far as getting into his personal life, I'm not going there because I just think that's shitty. Like, other people can speculate, but for me, because again, like, this is a person I was friends with. Do I know things about his personal life? Yes. Does he know things about mine? Also, yes. And so I'm just, yeah, that's like a bridge too far for me.
Okay. And what is your, after everything that's happened? I mean, you sounded pretty like conclusive in DMs, but I might as well just ask, like, what is your impression of Jeremy Hambley now?
I really think he's one of these like nice guy TM people who swoops in when people are at their absolute lowest. Like if you look at his progression of quote unquote co-hosts, they're mostly women or mostly people who he scooped up when they were having the shittest time of their life. He grabbed me up when I was coming off the back of working with the human embodiment of Caligula, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come work with me and do streams with me?" And I was at my lowest. He knew I was at my lowest, and I felt like, oh, someone's finally being nice to me. I think you can probably say the same about some of these other women that he's worked with, you know, getting fired by Tim and turfed by Tim. And he came along, was like, well, let me save you. And like that would be so noble and so wonderful if it wasn't perhaps a manipulation tactic. And I think that's what's so troublesome about this behavior is you have this nice guy who on a long enough timeline actually demonstrates to you that he actually doesn't give a fuck about you. He cares about money. And I can respect the caring about money thing if you're just open about it. If it's like,
Yeah.
hey, I actually don't want to be your friend. I have no interest in, you know, getting to know you or helping you or anything like that. I literally just want to make a shitload of money. I'd be like, fair enough. All right, let's roll. Let's make a fuckload of money. Let's do it. But to pretend that it's something else, that really bothers me, and that feels very disingenuous.
Yeah, and that's what he's been doing that a lot. Like he, in every post he was posting a few weeks ago, he says people are betraying him, and he's been nothing but nice to everybody. He's the
Yeah,
nicest
but
guy in the world, right?
it's so easy to say that when you genuinely view yourself as this through this like savior complex, and you're not realizing that you're shivving people left, right, and center. Like it's mind-boggling to me that these people genuinely delude themselves into thinking they live in an alternate reality. This is why I said to you, these people are untethered from reality, and they do and say all this stuff that does not reflect actual reality. And when people go, hey, that hurt me, hey, you did a thing that sucked, rather than owning it, they go, no, just kidding, that's a you problem, and I never did that to you. And that's why, again, I feel crazy. And again, I know I'm fucked. Like I know I'm getting dragged in. I don't want to be dragged in. It is what it is. I did this to myself by jumping on here and talking to you. I accept my fate. But
Well, you have a
it is it,
you
yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but like this has been eating at your mind for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And I know you're like being real nice. You're like, oh, but like you don't like this guy, and a lot of people don't like this guy, and it's for very good reason. And I don't think anybody faults you for that even a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So because he's burnt everything, and I mean he currently has co-hosts right now that are defending. Like, what do you think's the motivation for like the current co-host? Well, not all of them are defending him. They're not saying anything, but some of them are like defending him, saying everybody is lying, everything's lying, even the videos are lies. Say, I tell you, like what is that motivation? Were you ever in that like thought process where you would do something like that, or is it just
No, absolutely not.
yeah, it's weird.
No, I think that people are very guided by money, and which, again, I get it. I respect it if you're honest about it. But I think the doubling down thing is that when someone pays your bills, you're not going to shiv them, are you? Because there's no incentive for you to do
Yeah.
that. And so I think what people are missing in this equation is no one's going to turn around and destroy their boss unless there's some material benefit to doing that. And so, as much as I think it's icky, I understand. Like, I really get it. I'm lucky enough to be independent. I have the coolest community on YouTube, and I love the shit out of my people. And I'm so grateful because they back me, and they know that, when there's noise, they're like, well, let's just wait to hear what Sydney has to say. And I really appreciate that. But a lot of these other people don't have that.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
get thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I've been talking about. One of his co-hosts right now, like they don't have a big channel, like they don't really have a lot to fall back on. So I understand the motivation, but I also would like, just say like, hey, I'm in this for a paycheck, leave me alone. I think a lot of people would respect that, but they're not doing that, and
Yeah.
they're going this weird avenue. And I want your opinion on this, like. Jeremy's been doing this thing where he keeps evoking like the name of Charlie Kirk for some reason and saying that he's so thankful for religion when stuff gets really bad. Like when the Ren Fair video went viral, he was posting about how Charlie Kirk inspired him and he's so glad he's a Christian now when he was getting like a lot of heat. Like, do you think that's really disingenuous? I feel like it's really disingenuous.
Oh, absolutely. And I bitched about this privately and probably publicly too. These cultural Christians shit me to death because I think it's really wonderful if you are somebody who has some sort of enlightenment and you're like, yep, I want to, become a Christian or whatever it is for legitimate reasons. But if you're just wearing Christianity as a skin to stop people from criticizing you and you're using it as a shield, I think that's so embarrassing. And this happens so much in right-wing politics. Not that Jeremy is necessarily in right-wing politics, but he's kind of adjacent.
Yeah.
I can't speak to whether or not he's a Christian or not. I don't know. Maybe he truly is. But I do find it, the timing is always so interesting to me when people come under attack for very legitimate reasons. And then their immediate turnaround is to say, oh, I'm a Christian. You can't criticize me. Oh, I read my Bible and I go to church. Okay, bitch, then act like a Christian. And stop this silliness on the internet and actually act like a Christian.
100%. It's insane. And that's kind of what he's been doing. And just getting drunk and lying. And I think like you have a lot of experience with that.
Oh, I do.
And I do want you to, I know it's, a lot of people are asking, like, is there a part of you or a large part of you or a small part of you that's like legitimately kind of afraid of Jeremy, do you think?
That's a really good question. I'm going to say yes. I hate this about myself. I said this when I made my Elijah Schaefer video. This is one of the worst characteristics I have, and I have a couple really bad characteristics, but one of them is I minimize myself, because I don't want the drama. And I
Yeah.
somehow I don't know. I know that it's kind of silly to say because I've been in two back-to-back drama situations where I've then, had to wait years to be able to have my say and to be like, hey, this is actually how it went down, or at least this was how I interpreted things. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess I'm fearful from the perspective that people know that I don't want to be involved and they know I probably won't say anything. And so it kind of gives them license to come at me a lot. Um, and because I don't also want to burden my people, my audience, my viewers with drama, so I just stay out of it. And that actually eats at me.
Yeah. No, I totally get it because it's like an overthinking thing. Well, and I told you this in DMs, but I think it's very, very important and it is hard to like, convince yourself. It's an easier said than done thing, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think Jeremy has any power. I think he likes to pretend like he does, especially not right now. I think people really, really respect the fact that you're just here. I mean, Shoe on Heads in the chat, she said we love you. Um,
Oh, I love Shu. She's so cute.
and there's obviously always going to be trolls and whatnot, but I don't think Jeremy has any power. I think all of his power is through threat. He,
Well,
you know what I'm
you know
saying?
what? Actually, the one thing he could come at me with, I'm just going to actually rip the band aid off. This was my shitty behavior during the Publica thing. So, Jeremy, I'm taking this out of your arsenal. So, one of the things he's threatened me with is that a girl I formerly worked with, things didn't go well. We had a fallout. I won't name her because I don't think she wants to be associated with any of this. Fair enough. She leaked a bunch of private chats to him where I trashed the shit out of him. And I want that to be really clear. I said some not nice stuff because at the time I was like, fuck this guy. He's making my life hard. He tried to murder my company right as it was trying to get out of the crib. I was like, fuck this guy. So yeah, I was a bitch. I was a very, very nasty person in DMs to friends of mine, just by the way, just mates of mine that I trusted implicitly. Well, silly me, I guess. And right there at the end, and this is the minimizing myself thing, he was calling me. Oh, sorry, I'm walking and I'm stressed. I have to sit.
Okay.
I think people think I'm this like larger than life person, but I'm actually not. This like is stressing me out. I have to sit down because I'm getting out of breath. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so DMs were leaked to him. And when the Publica was ending, one of the things that we wanted to do, because I love the team, we had all these writers and content creators, and they were great people. And so they relied on the Publica for jobs, right? And so the girl that I was working with was like, hey, I don't think we can kill this because then, we're putting 10 people out of work, which is horrible. That's a really, really horrible place to be. So I, behind the scenes, was trying to find an investor, going really hard, just like, okay, I called everybody that I knew who could possibly connect me with an investor. I ended up meeting somebody just by chance at an event. And he was like, yeah, I'll help you fundraise to start a new project. And so at this point, Jeremy was constantly calling me going, oh, you owe me hundreds of thousands of dollars for this website. And I was so stressed out. I was in the middle of this lawsuit. I was in a weird place financially. Like I definitely didn't have a ton of money, but and I was working for free so freaking much and not getting paid, which is again, it's fine. It's a business. I get it. But I was not getting paid. So I had no money, or very little money, I should say. I wasn't earning as much as I could have been. And so I said to him, I made out like my financial position was worse than it was in order to extricate myself. I wanted him to feel bad, and I wanted him to be like, oh, I'm doing her a favor. I get to wear my nice guy hat and let her go from this project. And he did. And he
Right.
did. And, I know that's manipulative and I know that's shitty, but that's the thing that's been eating at me that I don't want him to expose. I totally did that because I wanted out, and I wanted this person to stop harassing me and calling me and stop telling me that I owed him hundreds of thousands of dollars when I'd been doing all this free work and, trying to coordinate and trying to get this thing off the ground. And so I was like, yeah, dude, my situation sucks. I'm super impoverished. Please release me. And he was like, yeah, I'll hold on to the company. And, you can buy me out at a later stage when you're in a better financial position. And I was
Right.
like, you know what? Honestly, I probably would have done that if we hadn't have been working on a different company already.
Right. And that's the thing is like I actually don't think I think she said this the chat or said something similar. I don't think those DMs would even matter because here's the issue: like he's harassing you for money, like all
Yeah.
the time, and he's also not paying you as much as you should be
No,
paid.
he didn't pay me at all. That's
Yeah,
the thing. Didn't pay me a single red cent. And
right.
so, it's embarrassing to admit because I don't want to be an untrustworthy person, but that is one of the shittier things I've done. And it was just largely because I was talking to my friends behind the scenes, one of whom actually was in a very abusive marriage. She left, and I said, this is the person I'm working with. I don't trust him to not flip the fuck out and go off at me publicly, because obviously, in this silly game of internet, whatever that we're doing, it is imperative that you don't misstep and do horrible crap that makes people hate your guts. It
Yeah.
makes it very hard to do this. And so I was terrified that if I just simply said to him, I want out, I can't pay you this random ass sum of money that you're talking about, he would attack me and he'd come at me. And I was genuinely fearful of that. So she said, one of the things you probably could do here that would help you get out of the situation is minimize yourself, be a baby person, be a victim, and allow him to rescue you. And I thought, well, that's embarrassing as shit, but all right, I'm going to do it. And then I got a bloody DM from somebody because he'd obviously been talking to people about it. And I got a bloody DM from someone and they said, oh, I hear you're in financial hardship. And I was like, oh my God, even if this was true and I was as impoverished as I'd made out, I was like, you're telling people that? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, when you're saying that, like, you owe him money and you're afraid of what he's gonna say or what he's gonna do you feel like you were, like, in a blackmail situation?
I feel like I was being, yeah, pushed into a corner. And it was
Yeah.
mad because I got where he was coming from saying, I'm funding this thing. I want to see something for it. But I also kept thinking to myself, that's fine, mate, but you got to bloody turn up and actually freaking contribute. Like, what the hell do you mean you're just going to bitch at me privately, call me drunk, say all this crazy shit, tell me that you're going to pull the plug on 10 people's jobs, which would have been horrific, just by the way. Um, and then you're going to spread, it was such a clusterfuck. And like, again, I don't want to be a person that people associate with horrible, manipulative, shitty behavior. But I mean, I suppose if I've got to own it, I've got to own it. Yep. Totally had to minimize myself to get out of that bloody situation. And I'm sad that it didn't work out because I actually think we had something really cool brewing. But at the end of the day, it's like, I can't work with people like that. It's just
Yeah.
awful.
I mean, he's a and for lack of a better phrase, and I've been talking about it for a while, like, he's a pretty bad person. He's a pretty shitty person. I don't think anybody sees you as a bad guy in any way, shape, or form in this situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've definitely tried my absolute best to not be a fuckwit, in my time on the internet. I've misstepped. I've definitely stepped in some potholes and acted like a complete moron from time to time. But, I think a lot of the people who are content creators who know me and who are watching this, even if we've, had conflict or whatever at some point, I think a lot of them would be like, yes, it's all right. And that's what I want people to feel and think. I don't want to be somebody that gets associated with lying and dishonesty and shittiness, because if that's going to be my mark in the world, that sucks. No, thank you. And
Yeah.
so to be associated with somebody who's kind of built this brand on, like I said, nice guy TM, like, okay, dude, but is actually kind of hurting people, not physically, but, hurting people in financial ways or threatening them. And I mean, like, the dude was threatening to sue me over this $100,000 or 200, whatever the hell number he's pulling out of his butt. He was threatening to sue me over all this. And I'm thinking, this is so unhinged, bro. Like, do you not understand that the amount of work that I did for free because I wanted this thing to succeed? Meanwhile, you're just, flopping around like a fish on a deck and not contributing. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you are out of your bloody mind.
Well, he just wanted he wanted the money like he got from the tea thing. Like, he just wanted more
Yeah.
money.
Well, he was always intensely sort of, I think perhaps intensely jealous of Tim Pool because Tim's memberships on his website are quite high, from my understanding.
Right.
And Jeremy was like, hey, man, we can like achieve this and make a shitload of money a month. And again, I've just come out of a situation where I had a really nice paycheck that's now gone. And I'm going, oh, shit. Um, and I just moved into a house to be closer to the company I was working for. And now I'm living in this house with a rent that I somewhat can't pay. And so, to have this person be like, oh, let's do all these things and let's make all this money. I was like, that sounds awesome. But, failing to realize that to actually get to Tim Pool level of membership and content and members only content, you really got to put in the time. That's a full-time
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on Timcast a bunch, and that is like some high level shit out there. I mean, I'm sure you've been over there, but like, would you say like I've heard this a lot? Like, would you say that like the quartering is kind of like obsessed with the level of Tim Pool or Tim Pool himself or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say that he's definitely got a bee in his bonnet about Tim. And like, I don't know why, because I don't think he even registers to Tim.
yeah, for no, for sure,
It's
for
that
sure.
meme. I don't know what movie it's from, but there's like a scene. It's an older bloke, and he's like, "I don't think about you at all."
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
reminds me of. Look, at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't want this to turn into like a Sydney bashing Jeremy fest, but I think like this is similar to how I felt about all the Elijah Schaffer stuff. I have held on to so much for years and years and years. And the irony for me is literally just this afternoon, someone tweeted at me and they said, Sydney, are you ever going to talk about the Jeremy thing? And I was like, probably not. There's nothing that I can say that hasn't already been said. And here I am like an absolute schmuck.
6 hours later, no,
So I own that. People are gonna be like, "Oh, she tweeted this and then immediately talked." Yeah, I know. I guess that when you messaged me, and a couple of the other boys who have DM'd me about this, and we've talked a little bit, they'll be able to testify that it's just I'm just frustrated because people have been talking about me a lot, and it's the same thing with the it weighs on you for years and years and years. Everybody talks around you and you don't say anything because you just don't want to be involved. But then these narratives transform about you, these narratives pop up. And, you know, I don't want anybody to think when you said to me, oh, I thought you not talking meant that you were buddies. I was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that.
yeah, yeah. I have did you? I don't know why this is like a meme, but were you ever required to sign an NDA or currently under one?
No, I think that was an accidental miscommunication on my part with Warski because I was like, oh, they'd been the Kino Casino boys had been talking about Elijah Schaffer, and someone was like, oh, they asked if you would come on and talk about it, and I DM'd Warski and I was like, hey, I'm like NDA'd to shit on that front, so like, sorry, I'm not able to talk. And then directly afterwards, I said something about the quartering, I think. And there was a bit of a miscommunication there. So no, I've never signed an NDA. Jeremy's never asked me to sign an NDA. The only NDA I have is with my former employer.
Okay, and I have a burning ass question that I've been thinking about this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, this is kind of weirdly unrelated, but do you have any like rough idea where his like coffee company, if it exists or if it's located anywhere? Do you know?
I know. Well, mm, yes and no. I know that's so unhelpful. I don't know a ton about their operations. What I only know is from the 3PL vantage point. And for people who are not familiar with that stupid terminology, a 3PL is a fulfillment center.
Right.
Fulfillment center being someone who makes your boxes, packs your product, blah, 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 sends it out, whatever. So I do know that he has a warehouse, which, by the way, I don't think it's anything to be, embarrassed about or to make fun of him for. Like, putting aside him being a crappy human being, like, if the dude's been able to buy a warehouse because his company's doing well, I think that's actually really cool. So he does have a warehouse. I know he has some staff. I know he has an overseer of the. Sorry if you can hear weird breathing. My dog is sitting beside me getting a head rub. I know he has a manager who runs the 3PL. I don't know how many employees they have, but he does his own fulfillment. Again, I don't know if that's how he was presenting it to me, as in, oh, I do my own fulfillment, but in actuality, it's some other company he's contracted, or if they're really under his umbrella. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they do genuinely work for him because I think the company does quite well.
Okay, yeah, because the reason people were always confused is because he says he sources the beans personally in the personal batches, like the flavoring. He does it like he sources all personally. I'm like, I don't see him going down there and doing
No.
that.
No, I mean, like, here's the thing. I'll say this. I mean, tea's a little bit different, and the way that I do my tea is a little bit different. But It is very hard to source product like that, and especially to do that well. A lot of this stuff is a full-time job, and that's why I was saying to you in DMs. You know, a lot of YouTubers do utilize third parties to do basically everything, and that's not how I would want to run a business, because you have no control over what you're doing. But if that's how other people want to, that's up to them. I think they should disclose that to their people. So I think it's just bullshit to say that you're hand sourcing stuff that you're obviously not. And I think it's also fine to start off white labeling stuff, because then, you know, I don't know how it works in coffee land, but my supplier, they do a little bit of coffee, and I've asked her about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, you know, we do beans for people, and like we can do different kinds of beans and different roasts and all that kind of stuff, so that you do have some control over that." But yeah, there's no way like you're hand sourcing bloody beans. You're going to some company who makes the beans, and you're saying put them in the bag, and they go, "Okay, we put them in the bag," and that's how that goes.
Right, and I think that was like, do you think you should disclose where, like, for some reason you won't disclose that it exists or where it is, or like the FDA is involved? It's getting really weird, and I don't know why he's like letting it all fall to the wayside. You know?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what people's expectations here are, because then the thing would be, oh, Sydney, disclose who your blend is, and I'm never going to do that, because that's well, that's not. I don't think that's any. Maybe it is people's business. I don't know. Actually, that's a good question, but I'm probably never going to disclose that. Not because I'm trying to hide anything, but just because she probably doesn't want me to. Honestly, she probably doesn't want to be associated with any of this.
Right.
um, but I don't know. This is so hard for me, because I get it from a business perspective why people white label, or why, you know, maybe he started off white labeling and then he bought the company. Like, I don't know, but I think people maybe are slightly jumping onto things that they don't have enough information about there. But to be fair with you, I don't have enough information, so I
Right.
can't comment. And
And
that's actually, yeah.
yeah, that's actually, I mean, and that's actually fine. The issue is like there was people were like, "What is this coffee?" And he was basically implying he was making it himself and had some employees that were making it, and then he was doing everything, from that standpoint.
He
And
may
then
have acquired the company. He may, like I said, he may
exactly,
have white labeled and then acquired the company. He may have done, but it's a big operation, you know, to like acquire beans. It's because all of them come from international farms, and there's a lot of stuff there, like a lot of stuff. Because I even this year I was like, okay, cool. Well, I really want to bring my manufacturing in house and do all of my own sourcing for all my own tea leaves, and not work with a blender and do all this myself, which is a lot of work.
yeah,
And then I started looking at it, and I was like, oh, geez, like you
yeah.
need all sorts of government it's a lot. Yeah.
The reason I think people have a big issue with it, Madam Sabby brings it up in the chat. There's no information on like allergen info. That's why like the FDA and stuff is starting to get like privy to it, because there could be allergies based on the flavor. The
Yeah,
flavor of
totally.
coffee needs to be on there, and it's not on there. And
Yeah,
there's, people could be getting in a really rough. I'm allergic to shellfish. If there was some
yeah.
shellfish or some coffee, my ass is fucked. It better say it on the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah. Well, see, and this is a thing. Like, I think I'm slightly behind on this. Again, the only thing I can reckon this with is my tea business, because it's sort of similar. I am very express. It's so funny. A lot of companies just do natural flavors when they have additives. I list out, probably to my own detriment, but I want to be upfront with people. I list out exactly the flavorings that we have, and then if people have additional questions, because like, to be clear, everybody who's listening about tea, I know everybody's in this like Maha thing, and I so respect the shit out of it, but it's really hard to capture some flavors without doing artificial flavor, especially like people who buy from me, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot give you a root beer flavor without root beer flavoring. Like, I'm sorry, I would love to, but I don't know how to do that, and I don't even think I can. So you want to disclose that kind of thing just from a standpoint of, you know, like you said, if there's an additive in there that someone can't have, you want them to be really clear about it. And so, yeah, that is 100% a thing that if he's not doing that, he should be doing that. But a lot of companies don't, and they assume that they're not going to get sued, and they probably won't.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I have a question that I was thinking about. What if a lot of people are like waiting patiently
Yeah,
for the people directly involved with Jeremy, like like Melanie and like Hannah Claire, like to say something.
they
What?
won't.
Yeah, exactly. What would be your advice? Like with your experience, what would be your advice to them? Like because stuff's gonna the bridges will be burned eventually. That's just how these things work with Jeremy. So like,
Yeah.
what would be your advice to them? You think?
Um, I think it's hard because with these kind of people, like I said to you before, it's a mutually assured destruction thing. I'm sure he knows some stuff about them that they don't want public. And, you know,
Right.
to be fair, when you're an internet person or you have a bit of a following, there's a lot of stuff about your life that you want to keep private, and there's nothing wrong with that. The trouble, though, is when that gets utilized as ammunition against you. And so I think there's an unspoken thing in political media, especially, and I'm going to lump them in with political media because they are kind of political.
Right.
There's an unspoken thing where you know that if you want to say something about your situation, someone's going to be on the other side of that hill slinging shit back at you, basically. So that's why I know I said to you, like, I'm fucked. Like, I know that, and that's okay. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm like the most boring person in the world. I don't have anything to hide. But I know that it puts a target on my back, and it'll be the same thing for them. There's stuff that's probably gone on, things that have happened that they're like, yo, I don't want this out there. And when you're dealing with people who don't have any moral boundaries, they don't care what they throw at you. They so want to get knee deep in the bloody mud and chuck as much shit at you as they can, even if they're taking a hammering as well, because they just want to take you down. So I know that these girls are probably going to leave this situation and say nothing. And there's nothing I can say that would change their mind about that.
Right. No, I agree. It's people are getting caught up in like an absolute shitstorm right now because of it. Like there was a stream yesterday that was a freaking shitstorm, and everybody's trying to give everybody advice, and no one's following the advice. And it's very, very strange. And it's what do you think Jeremy should do? Like, do you think should he like take a break? Should he go to rehab?
Yeah.
I think he should go to rehab immediately and like get the hell out.
Yeah,
What do
he
you?
should get sober. That's what he should do. He
Yeah.
should get sober and he should focus on his own shit and less on other people's. The thing crazy to me, and I don't know if anybody else has pointed this out, because full disclosure, I love a lot of the people who've been involved in this. They've always been super sweet to me, and so I got no drama with anybody these days, thank the Lord.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, what's so interesting to me about Jeremy, and you know, with the way he's been attacked and everybody's been coming at him, is there's a massive parallel here to the way that he went at Jack Murphy. And I actually said to him at one point during the Jack Murphy stuff, I was like, you need to lay off because this guy's going to kill himself and it's going to be my fault. And I won't be able to live with myself. So please lay off.
Right.
And it's interesting because I don't want to add to the shit that Jeremy's in right now, as much as I'm angry and I don't like him. I don't want to add to it because these are human beings. This is, I think, where I'm such a bitch because I just empathize. I empathize and I hate it. It's so Cancerian, but I empathize and I go, I would hate being in that position, even though you brought it on yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy because Jack Murphy was the same thing. He screams at me on a show. People are like, what the heck? They go after him and then they hammer him and they hammer and they hammer and they hammer. And I'm going, holy shit, this guy's going to die and it's going to be awful. And that's kind of how I feel about Jeremy right now is I'm like, you need to get off the internet, bro, because you're just going to make it worse. But he can't, you see, because his income's tied to it.
Yeah, he's upset, and I think he's just really obsessed with affirmation. Like he just has to be here and has to be here, and not only with his Rumble deal or whatnot, he has to stream. And I don't really, to be honest, I don't think he's a streamer. To be fair, I don't think he is. But yeah,
streaming's hard. I don't know how you guys do it. I always think to myself, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to read. I really respect the streaming because you guys just kind of talk and talk and talk and talk. I know I'm doing a lot of talking right now, and I'm sorry to everybody. I'm sure people are not wanting to listen to like 2 hours of Sydney having a bloody pity party, but you know, I never get to talk about any of this because I'm so fearful of getting my head kicked in. So now everyone knows I'm a giant bitch. Woo-hoo.
Well, a burning question. What did you think about every time Jeremy would randomly bring up his like shitting stories? What was that about?
I think that when people have shame around an issue, they like to talk about it, which is so weird.
So you think it's like a weird kink of his, like a weird shit kink?
No, I don't think it's a kink. I think it's like a thing that he probably wants to be out there so that it makes him feel less bad about it. Like he can make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's actually like a sore point for him. Yeah, again, like I don't know any information about kinks or fetishes or any weird crap like that. Thank God.
I just know they're weird. That's all I know.
Yeah.
That's strange. I don't like it. And that's the thing. You alluded to this with Jack Murphy. People keep hammering. The issue with Jeremy is like you don't have to look under the hood too far to just see everything. And he is complaining people are going after his wife, but he talks about his wife on like every single stream, and then he says he's getting harassed, but then he posts a picture of his wife that day on YouTube that they're hanging out, and I'm like, what are we doing here, right? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that.
To use a marriage to use a marriage as a shield is another thing I have a massive problem with, because when we have partners who are not involved, and I'll say this, like sometimes I tweet about Tex and boyfriend because he's funny as shit and I think he's hilarious and I like, talking about the weird crap that we do. But I would never utilize him as some like weird shield on the internet so that people can't criticize me. To do that to a party who's not online, not involved, that's always rubbed me the wrong way, especially to use it to shit on some of the women who, I don't know how people feel about like Lauren Southern, for example, or Hillary Crowder's a really good friend of mine. Jeremy's gone at both of these women, and then uses the marriage thing. Oh, well, your marriage fell apart, blah blah blah, but I'm still married. Like, ew, ew, dude, ew. What are you doing?
Yeah, he just uses it as a shield for everything.
Yes, and it's bizarre because this woman's not online. She's not an e-personality. And just by the way, sorry, I think my dog is screaming again. Apologies, everybody. But yeah, to utilize this just seems, it's very icky to me. I don't like that.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think Jeremy's would you consider this is going to be pretty pointed. Would you consider Jeremy like a predator? I do. I can say that all day. What do you think?
Predator. I mean, I know I called him a predator in DMs to you. I was just mad. Predator's I think some predatory behavior has absolutely taken place. Yes. Whether or not he himself is like, a full predator, I don't know.
A fool. He's at least like 3/4.
Yeah, I mean, the dude has done some weird shit, and like some of the things that I've seen in streams or some, I guess my own experiences, it's like this is not the behavior of a married man. Like, you don't act like this towards women. You don't sit at a bloody fair and behave the way that you're behaving towards women and children. Like, it's icky and it's not acceptable. And so, yeah, I find it predatory. I am nervous to wholesale call someone predator. But I've worked with them. Like, everybody knows, like, my former co-host did a lot of really predatory stuff as well. And I would probably term him as a predator. So, I think that this behavior is so common.
We still alive? The audio. Oh, you're back. You back?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, you're good. Yeah. Sorry.
Just me monologuing.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he's a full-on predator. I just see that. I've met, when I was growing up, I've met people that I do not associate with anymore because I've seen like the way they act. And I 100% get that vibe from Jeremy. Like 100, I have no problem fucking me like, yep, predator, 100%, gross, disgusting predator. And I think everybody can agree. Is there any other situation that you've had in the past that just really irks you about Jeremy that we don't know really?
No, I think we've covered it all. Like, I don't know, I got a pretty long fuse for most people. I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. So the major things that have really fucked me off about his behavior are ones that we've covered here. I want to give someone like Jeremy initially the benefit of the doubt, because especially when you kind of get involved with people in a work sense, you want to see the best in them. But crippling my baby company.
Oh, I think you muted yourself. Maybe. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, every time my screen turns off, maybe it's okay. You got me?
Yep.
Okay, I got to stop pacing. Like I said, I'm stressed. I pace when I'm stressed. I don't know if anybody else does that on the phone, but I feel like I'm on a phone call. So I'm pacing in my kitchen.
Right.
But I'm going to get sat now so I don't disappear again. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, there's nothing I can think of. To be fair, I've probably blocked a lot of stuff out because I don't want to live in this moment. But in a way, it feels kind of all right to just like have my say, have all this information out there, and if people, they'll make up their own minds about things. The one thing I will say is that I don't make claims that I can't back up. So I hate the fact that people are going to assume that I record all the calls that I have with people, but I don't. I've only done it with Jeremy, and only towards the end of our working relationship. So like, can I back up stuff here? Yes, I have recordings that, like I said, I'm not going to give them to anybody. They were for me to play back to myself. I have DMs that or messages that he has sent me that I can back up some of this stuff too. So I don't make claims that I can't back up.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a reason why you recorded those. Is you were feeling like,
Gaslit and
yeah,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah,
some kind of way about him. You
yeah.
know?
I was, and I want this to be really clear. I don't want to be the sort of person that other people don't trust, where they're like, "Oh, Sydney's going to record me." No, I don't. I don't do that. The only reason this happened was because the bloke would get drunk, call me, say stuff to me, and then walk it back the next day. And when this happens to you enough times, you go, "Am I insane, or are you lying?" And so, yeah, I recorded them because I wanted them to listen to back and be like, "Okay, it's not me." He literally said that.
Yeah. Well, that's good though. That's good. Did you watch the June the King documentary by any chance?
I started it, but 3 hours, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's long. I watched the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it in segments. I got 30 minutes in and I only got through the first. I have all the freaking toys and stuff. What was the cars? Was that what he was
And the
doing?
RC cards and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to that bit and then I was like, oh, I gotta go do some stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's pretty rough stuff, but I think everybody can agree that Jeremy's a terrible person, and the truth about all these things, like that we haven't really elaborated on yet. I think they're all coming, and I do hope that he jumps off the internet. Now, I will say that he does give us a lot of stuff to talk about, though. So at least there's that, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, this is good for all you lads, that are on this and across it. This is probably the only time I'm actually going to say anything. And
Right.
I really hope this stream does so well for you. I hope you make lots of doll hairs. And I hope that, people get some additional information about this from me and from my vantage point. I just sincerely don't want to be involved any further than this because I feel like I've just finally become drama free for the most part. And now I just want to stay there. I just got bees. I'm a bee mom. I want to go hang out with my bees, and that's what I want to do.
Right. No, I think everybody is really happy that you at least spoke on it and you at least said your piece. And because everybody's like, no one's saying anything. And that's why they were so mad at the stream the other day with Melanie Mac, because nothing's been said. And I think people really respect that. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you have anything to worry about as far as Jeremy at all. I think he's a big ass bitch, to be honest. I think he's a bitch. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there, you know.
Well, again, I mean, I'm kind of showing him some grace by being like, "Yo, dude, I'm not gonna go ham at you and like expose stuff that would make a lot of this shit make sense. I'm not gonna do that because I think it's crappy, and I'm not going to speak on things I don't know about and assume. And I really expect I expect that courtesy to be given back to me because again, there's nothing that I'm afraid of. It's just personal stuff about my life. My partner, he's a regular human being. I don't want people coming at him. I don't want anybody to like mess with the guy. And it's just shit like that where I'm like, hey man, like you can attack me all day long, whatever, but leave my family or my loved ones out of it?
Yeah, yeah. I agree. No, I completely agree. Hypothetically, if Jeremy goes like scorched earth, is that something you would consider as going scorched earth back at his ass?
No, because I think that I like I said, I've said what I needed to say. I've gotten my piece out there. That's all I wanted. If he goes scorched earth, I'm not really sure what that would look like. I don't think I've done anything outside of the, somewhat manipulating him into letting me out of the situation by, you know, making myself a little bit smaller than I am.
Right.
Again, that's the thing I'm the most embarrassed about because that's really not a Sydney characteristic, but I just took advice from friends who were like, here's how you get out without this person nuking you. And I was like, sick, okay, I will do that. And I don't think that's like the greatest behavior, but I just wanted to extricate myself. That's the worst thing I think I've done. I fucking pissed on him in DMs to friends. If he wants to post them, go right on ahead, Jeremy. I definitely made a bunch of jokes about being a feminist. I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. Like, it is what it is. And I think it's shitty to share DMs as a rule. Even when I made my Elijah Schaefer video, I asked every single person whose DMs I shared, bar one, because we don't have a relationship and I don't even think I had his phone number. But I asked every person because I was like, if I'm going to share DMs and back up what I'm saying, I want people to give me, I want people to give me their consent. I have this dude blocked on everything. So I don't know. Outside of calling me from a random ass number, I guess he can't ask for my permission to post mean DMs that I sent my friends about him. So
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about him. He's just a big ass bitch, and he just likes to threaten people. That's what he likes to do. He likes to threaten people, and that's about it. That's
yeah.
as far as he seems like he goes, is he just threatens, you know. So,
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll say this, there's a lot of really nice internet people, but I think that this sort of behavior is really common. This sort of like lying and being deceitful and kind of being a shitty person. It's kind of a tenet of a lot of internet humans, and you don't know who they are until you know who they are. And usually at that point it's because they've done something to you.
yep.
I think it's really unfortunate the way that all this has played out with Jeremy. I sincerely wish that he and I had never crossed one another in this capacity. I wish that things had quietly faded away and I didn't have this stuff to say about him, because it's not fun. It's not like this is fun for me. I get it's fun for everybody else because, it's kind of like, you get to clown on someone that you don't like. But for me, I'm sure everybody can hear it. I'm stressed out. Like, this is super stressful because I just want to make my content and be left alone. But it does feel good to have my say. It feels so good to apparently to fix this random lie about me getting a $250,000, which is psychotic. I wish I had $250,000.
Same. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that that was a thing. I'm sure there's other stuff that you can tell me that he said that I can be like, no, that never happened. But that one is crazy. I'm glad that people know that's not true.
Yeah, that was the biggest one. Is he loved to brag that he gave you $250,000.
He never
And
did. I don't even. Where do you pull that?
I don't know. He just said it on camera, And then he said you
What?
talked shit about him, and and he was mad about it because
Oh,
he gave
I did
so
talk
much
shit.
money.
Yep,
Yeah,
I totally talk shit.
that's fine. He deserves to be shit on. Let's be honest.
The other thing though is don't we all talk shit about people we don't like with our friends?
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you paid me $250,000, bro, produce the receipts.
Yeah, he won't be doing that. He'll just block everybody and then delete everything again.
Produce the receipts, bro.
Yeah, he's not gonna do it. So
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, this kind of makes sense because when he was threatening to sue me, he was like, "You owe me all this money," and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I told you, untethered from reality.
Did he ever go any further on that, or did he just say, "Hey, I'm going to sue you"? Is that what he said?
Well, this was so weird. He sent me this bloody message, and he was like, oh God, I like read it briefly, and then I was like, "What is this?" It was basically he'd said, "Sorry, my puppies again." He'd sent me this message, and he was like, "I'm just giving you a heads up that my lawyer is preparing documents to sue you," or something along those lines. "And I'm giving you the opportunity to come up basically with a payment plan to pay me back, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, what? Oh, this is weird, man. Like when you're suing somebody, you don't tell them. You just do it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I completely agree. But nope. Yep, he's bad. He's bad, and I really appreciate you coming on and saying your piece because I didn't really expect it. I just messaged you and
I think I was just getting scared because like you were so cute when you were reading my messages, but you were taking some liberties that I was like, shit, like I want to be accurate in what I've said to you. Like I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying and then take that and run with it. I want to be really clear. Like, he's never threatened my partner. He's only ever threatened to release messages and to sue me. I don't know if his stuff is drop shipped. I don't know. I think those were the only primary two that I was like, oh, Cameron, no, please don't do that.
Right. No, but it's all good. I'm glad you clarified. I'm glad you said your piece. And I'm going to go ahead and read my super chats now and read anybody